On a human level, it's very sad. But at the same time, he is the president of the United States and he wants to run another 4 years. I mean, Destiny, you know, with all the best will in the world, he'll be lucky to make it to election day. Never mind 4 more years. Can you imagine what Biden will be like in 4 years?
Listen, if they wheel that dude out and he's got an IV drip in him, I'm still voting for him over Donald Trump. I'm sorry. I'd rather Kamala Harris as much as I don't. Yeah, absolutely. What do you mean? It's the idea of not accomplishing anything versus heading off whatever direction Donald Trump wants to take us. Yeah.
If they literally wheel him out, you would still vote for him.
Kamala Harris, Jill could walk out on stage with an urn saying, "This is the president." Okay, Joe Biden. Okay. Here he is, and I say, man, this is really annoying.
Destiny, you can't be serious. Destiny, you would vote for Joe Biden's urn with his ashes inside rather than Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
So in this video, Piers Morgan is basically forced to defend Trump for the sake of the truth. This guy, Destiny, who I believe is a Twitch streamer, he talks fast and he acts smart, and the reality is he's just super annoying. And I love how Piers Morgan handles him throughout this conversation. It's fantastic, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Destiny, let me start with you. Are you going to stare down the barrel of that camera and construct any convincing argument that Joe Biden should now remain as the Democrat nominee for this election?
I think the difficult reality is your incumbent advantage is strong, and at this point, it's too late to replace him. So you're kind of stuck with him at this point.
It's not too late, though. There is a mechanism. They can do it. They can ratify it at the convention. It's not too late. The question is, are the Democrats, after that absolute horror story of a debate, seriously going to let this guy be the one who allows Trump to get back to the White House? That's the calculation, surely.
I mean, your strongest arguments are Biden's ran against Trump before and won, and Biden's your incumbent. You can say that it's not too late to replace him, that somebody like Gavin Newsom can run for president and he can do just as good as Biden would. But, I mean, people said the same thing, that DeSantis would represent a strong challenge to Trump, and he got absolutely obliterated. It's easy to look at a candidate that hasn't gone through the ringer, that hasn't been tested in a national level election, but who knows if Newsom comes out, there could be 1 or 2 little scandals lurking behind the curtains that now we see that gets, you know, infinite airtime over the next few months.
What, do you mean something like this?
Want to make it clear that everything you've heard and read is true. And I am deeply sorry about that. I've hurt someone I care deeply about, Alex Turk, his friends and family. I am also sorry that I've let the people of San Francisco down. They expect a lot of their mayor, and my personal lapse of judgment aside, I am committed to restoring their trust and confidence, and will work very hard in the upcoming months to make sure that the business of running the city is framed appropriately.
If you couldn't tell, that was Gavin Newsom apologizing back in 2007 for sleeping with the wife of his campaign manager, somebody that was helping him get elected. He betrayed. Right? So if he's going to betray that type of person, that's somebody that's helping him, how do you think he's going to treat the American people if he's the Democrat nominee, right? Especially when you consider the way that he treated Californians during the COVID lockdowns. He shut down the beaches. He shut down the playgrounds. If you guys know, you know, right? And if you don't know, I encourage you to look into it. This isn't about Gavin Newsom, so I'm going to get back to the video. But I'm sure that's the type of thing that Destiny's talking about.
Reality is that Biden is probably the best shot the Democrats have right now to win.
But do you genuinely believe he should therefore continue and be the nominee?
I think that the Democrats should run the best candidate that they can to defeat Donald Trump. Absolutely,
you keep distancing yourself from this, Destiny. Come on.
Well,
put your head over the parapet. What do you think?
Well, I think that Joe Biden is the best candidate right now, given that he's already beaten Donald Trump in one election. I think that Joe Biden is the best candidate right now to run against Donald Trump.
You think
that beating Donald Trump is really important?
Hang on. Sorry, I don't want to be unfair to you, Destiny, but of all the Democrats in America, how many are there? I mean, tens of millions, right? Of all of them, you think Joe Biden right now, after that debate, is the best candidate the party can produce? Seriously?
I'm sure there are better candidates, but it's not about who the best candidate is. It's about who you know the best candidate is. I'm sure that you could flip a coin and find somebody that might end up performing better. But again, look at how many people have these huge reputations. Look at Cuomo and how he was destroyed after a couple scandals. Like, you have no idea if you take a candidate who looks strong. And I admit, Newsom looks strong. He's amazing on-stage presentation and everything. But who knows if you throw him up that there are just one or two accusations or one or two scandals or one or two things that the American public doesn't know about that now dominates the news cycle for the next few months. And even though he was a strong candidate on paper, like DeSantis, he disappears.
So you admit it's hard to find a Democrat that doesn't have a bunch of scandals surrounding them.
Biden has shown leadership, whether you like it or not, whether you like how he's dealt with it or not. He has shown leadership and the ability to bring allies together for Ukraine. He has shown leadership and the ability to force Israel to simultaneously show restraint while still remaining faithful as an ally. So, I mean, like, we can make fun of a debate performance all you want, but we can compare the legislative records of both presidents and we can compare their actions in office.
You can, but here's the problem. Yeah, but Destiny, you
yeah.
can, but here's the problem with that, is that it's just not cutting through. There's no doubt Biden's had a number of wins as president. No doubt at all. There's no doubt that comparative to most of the rest of the world, the US economy is purring along quite nicely. But his approval rating is at 37%. And after that debate, this issue of his own ability to function physically and mentally is now the only thing anyone's going to talk about for the next 5 months. He was incapable, when it really mattered, of articulating to the American people what his successes were, what his policy wins had been, what his attack lines against Trump were going to be, and why he should be re-elected. He could, I mean, honestly, I watched the whole thing at 7 in the morning.
I understand that, but
hang on. I watched the whole thing at 7 in the morning in the UK until 8:30. I had a lot of coffee. I was about as alert as a human being could be. I barely understood anything Biden said in the entire 90 minutes. And by contrast, I've known Trump since 2006 very well. I've watched him at close quarters when I did Celebrity Apprentice for 3 hours a night across the boardroom, night after night after night, until, and modesty prevents me from going about this too much, until I won. But at the end of it, I had 100 hours of watching Trump. He's pretty much the same guy. You may hate him, you may hate the trash that comes out of his mouth, all those things. But in terms of his actual performance, Trump on that debate stage the other night, in fact, if anything, it was the most restrained I'd ever seen him. Because even he could tell the guy next to him was just melting down.
I understand what you're saying, okay? As somebody who spent the last 8 years cutting their teeth doing debate, that's what I do, is political debate. All I've heard every single time is debate doesn't matter. It's not that important. Now all of a sudden that's the most important role.
It does when it's that bad.
Why are we talking? What about the immunity for criminal actions that Donald Trump just secured in front of the Supreme Court?
American
the
people.
Idea that,
well, again,
it's an insane thing that what we're talking about is Biden's debate performance over the legal requests that Donald Trump is making.
Yes, but Destiny,
but that's the problem. That's what we're focused on.
But
this is a problem. I agree.
But Destiny, right there is the problem, is that people are only talking about it. Remember, before the debate, 2/3 of all Democrat voters wanted Biden to stand aside because they were worried he was too old. What do you think they think now? No one's changing their mind on that. If anything, I'd be amazed if it's not 90%. And that's the problem. You've got so many things to attack Trump about, but nobody wants to hear it. When has Trump ever been in a debate where the next day the headlines weren't all about him? It's never happened. But now the only thing that anyone will look for with Biden in the next 5 months is him showing further evidence of mental and physical decline. I mean, your own guy sucks. He's barely alive. You've lost your fight, haven't you? Biden has removed the fight from Democrats. That's what I'm seeing here.
Not.
Absolutely. Actually, I agree with that.
You agree?
I totally disagree. No, if Donald Trump is taking insane, again, the Supreme Court ruling today is unbelievable. The idea that instead on today's show, we're going to focus on whether or not Biden had a bad debate performance is just reflective of the I don't want to say agenda in a negative way, but of what you want to talk about today on this program. Like, I think that the decisions that are being made right now legislatively in the Supreme Court are more important, or that are being made in the Supreme Court are more important
that's happening?
than whether or not Biden has a bad.
You know why it's happening? Because Trump was able to put 3 judges on the court in 1 term. You know why that was? Because you put up a terrible candidate, Hillary Clinton, who was incredibly polarizing, very arrogant, very superior, and she got flatlined by Trump when no one saw it coming on the Democrat side. And secondly, some of your Democrat judges who should have known better decided they weren't going to resign. They weren't going to retire. And because of that, Trump was able to pack that court. So I'm afraid you reap what you sow. Just very bad politics by the Democrats.
One of those Supreme Court justices were literally lost by McConnell just robbing a president of the right to seat a judge. Nobody remembers that Garland was supposed to be on the Supreme Court for almost a full year. McConnell said, we're not going to have that hearing. That is indefensible.
Let me bring in Michael here.
Oh, my God.
Tommy has to leave in a moment. So Michael, come to you, then come back to Tommy for a final wrap from her. But Michael.
Destiny, the principle that you're articulating that a president should be able to put a judge on the court in an election year, or rather that you say Mitch McConnell violated, was a rule first articulated by Joe Biden in the 90s when he was trying to kill George Bush's judges. So obviously there was a decision today. It said that the president has some immunity for criminal acts or acts committed in his official capacity as president. And this is based on a 40-year precedent. It really goes all the way back to the Marshall Court. Really nothing should be surprising about this. And yes, the Democrats are upset. They're
not
inveighing.
True. This is
just
based
let me
on
finish
precedent.
1 second, Destiny. They're inveighing because they say we should be talking about the immunity case. Well, but part of the articulation of I just was reading the decision was that, look, this is the first time that you've got a president who's being prosecuted in this way. And that's the problem, because the vast majority of Americans, right, left, and center, have been saying in survey after survey that they view the prosecutions of Trump as primarily politically motivated. They view this as kind of corrupt. And that's one of the reasons why Biden's poll numbers have been so bad for so long. And so they throw this Hail Mary to do a debate in June before either party has settled on a nominee. And it completely blew up in their face. And so no wonder people want to talk about it. You've got a political order that is fraying. You got a guy trying to put his opponent into an orange jumpsuit. And it turns out the guy who's trying to do that, it has applesauce for brains. No wonder people are concerned. You know what? The
American people, a bit like the British, I think would be the same in this position. They can smell a political hit job. And the fact that the first case that was used against Trump to try and convict him and put him in prison involved a payoff to a porn star 20 years ago for a supposed one-night stand, or whether it happened or not, that just smelt to them like a massive overreach. Whether he did it or not, they didn't care. And so the idea that the first American president in history to ever be convicted of a crime in a criminal court is convicted over something so pathetic and trivial. The American people, the right-minded, reasonable people who are not in the kind of mad tribal ends of their parties, all went, well, that's ridiculous. And actually demeaning to the country.
And this next part is hilarious because he calls out MAGA for having this blind allegiance to their leader, when the reality is that Trump came out and represented the people. For the first time in a long time, the people had somebody with power, with money, with clout, saying the same things that they were saying, rather than just serving each other up there at the top like the historical, Republicans and Democrats have done. But then here in a few minutes, he goes on and says that he'd vote for Joe Biden in an urn. So you tell me, who has blind allegiance? It's hypocrisy at its finest.
Francesca, I think is the name. I agree with her. The thing that Democrats suck on, that we're missing, is this blind allegiance to a leader, literally no matter what he does. It is the engine that powers Republicans. It allows them to lie for their leader. It allows them to excuse horrendous actions by the leader. It allows them to look at a president and, for after decades of saying, oh, we need to limit the power of government. Oh, we need to limit the power, say, well, maybe the president should actually be above most criminal prosecution.
Do you know what? There's a clip on, I've said this before, but there's a clip on YouTube of him talking to a Senate congressional hearing about apartheid South Africa. He must be in his early 40s, Biden. He is fantastic. He's passionate, he's intelligent, he's articulate, he's eloquent, he's brilliant. That guy would be a fantastic president. That guy has long ago left the building. And it's actually, on a human level, it's very sad. But at the same time, he is the president of the United States and he wants to run another 4 years. I mean, Destiny, with all the best will in the world, he'll be lucky to make it to election day. Never mind 4 more years. Can you imagine what Biden will be like in 4 years?
Listen, if they wheel that dude out and he's got an IV drip in him, I'm still voting for him over Donald Trump. I'm sorry. I'd rather Kamala Harris as much as I don't. Yeah, absolutely. What do you mean? It's the idea of not accomplishing anything versus heading off whatever direction Donald Trump wants to take us. Yeah.
If they literally wheel him out, you would still vote for him.
Kamala Harris, Jill could walk out on stage with an urn saying, this is the president, okay? Joe Biden, okay? here he is, and
Come
I say,
on.
man, this is really annoying.
He did.
Destiny, you can't be serious.
Joe Biden said he wanted to be FDR, so, you know, die in office, I guess.
Destiny, you would vote for Joe Biden's urn with his ashes inside rather than Donald Trump.
Absolutely. Easiest decision in my life. 100%. Yeah.
Poor Kamala. Poor
Francesca,
Kamala.
would you do that?
Kamala's just like, are you kidding me?
Francesca, would
Would
you
I
do that?
vote for an urn?
Yes.
No. The Democratic Party is doing their own base a massive disservice by keeping Joe Biden in this race. I might reel in horror from what Destiny says, and then we'll just never end this panel.
Well, we're going to end it definitely with Destiny. You've got a minute to summarize your horror here.
If U.S. politics is anything today, it is everybody endlessly recoiling in horror. So, you know, it would be an appropriate end. I mean, there was somebody that destroyed Donald Trump in debates. I watched it happen over and over and over again. It was Hillary Clinton. It wasn't even close. Donald Trump knows nothing about domestic or foreign policy compared to her. And guess what? None of those debates mattered whatsoever. Just on the final point, it's easy to think that something is good because you look at only the surface level things. You go, oh, well, there were no new wars, so it must have been great. People say peace in the Middle East and forget that Iran attacked Saudi Arabia proper for the first time in all of history. Donald Trump did nothing. The entire Great March of Return, the border riots, raged on. Yeah, that's great. That's not peace in the Middle East. The entire border riots raged on 2018, 2019 in Palestine and in Israel. Donald Trump did absolutely nothing. The idea that there was peace in the Middle East here when the region was about to boil over, and it finally did on October 7th, is just laughable. It shows like a total misunderstanding of anything that's happened in the Middle East. What was the peace? Is it the ongoing civil war in Yemen? Was it the ongoing civil war in Syria? Was it the ongoing destabilization in Iraq? Was it the ongoing protests in the Gaza Strip? Like, it's a joke to me.
I'll just say, under Trump, when Iran attacked Saudi Arabia, Iran's main guy, their main general dude, whatever, I think it was Soleimani. It was either Soleimani or Baghdadi, I'm not sure. That dude got removed from this earth. Both of those guys got removed from this earth. That was pre the Abraham Accords, and that is what my generation is all about. We want peace in the Middle East. The Abraham Accords brought 5 countries together, which was the beginning to creating peace in the Middle East. And furthermore, to counter Destiny's point about it all boiled over on October 7th, well, that was under Joe Biden. That did not happen on Donald Trump's watch. That happened on Joe Biden's watch. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up there. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one.